Mr. David Wortley is the Vice President of the International Society of Digital Medicine. He is also the CEO and founder of 360 and 360 Immersive Experiences, and an expert consultant on gamification and enabling technologies. For today's presentation, he will be touching on the challenges of lifestyle-related NCDs, the shift from clinical cures to preventative healthcare, the role of wearables, and more. Fresh from Prague, now back in UK, he now joins us here at AIBotics Go Digital. So let's welcome David Wortley. Welcome, David.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you today. As I mentioned earlier, I just arrived back from the Czech Republic at 1 o'clock this morning, so I've only had about 3 or 4 hours sleep, but it is my great pleasure to talk to you today. So if I may, I'm doing introduction to this session, and I'd like to spend just 10 minutes sharing some of my experiences of the future of healthy living. So I have a presentation lined up. Thank you very much for inviting me to be involved in this session. It's a subject that's very close to my heart. I've been involved in the use of technology, including AI, for healthy living for quite a number of years. And it's those kind of experiences and what I see, the implications of technology, that I just want to use as an introduction to this session. So I will go very quickly through a series of slides. The question I really have for everyone is to give some thought to where we are actually heading in the future of healthy living and the role of technology that will play in that. Now, I've been involved in the use of wearables for a number of years to monitor my own vital signs and to use gamification as a way of motivating me to try and keep my mental and physical health as good as they possibly can be. But we should be aware that at the same time, there are a lot of developments where the concept known as singularity gives the thought that in the future that human beings might become a blend of human nature and technology, and that's the concept known as a singularity. So are we heading towards a situation where, as Elle mentioned, the importance of humanity in the future, or are we running into the danger of allowing technology in some way to control our physical functions? The background to all of this is that in the 21st century, we've seen a dramatic shift away from mortality causes which are related to infectious diseases towards what are known as NCDs, non-communicable diseases, or lifestyle-related diseases. And today, even including COVID, these are the biggest cause of mortality. And one of these biggest causes, and it's one of the reasons why I started down this track some 9 years ago, is the fact that we have our global lifestyle, which are leading to greater incidences of obesity. And obesity leads to multiple potential health problems, including diabetes, cardiovascular problems, and many other things. And it's a few years ago now that our former head of the National Health Service said that obesity is like a slow motion car crash, because it's something that creeps up on us, and we're not really aware of it because it doesn't affect our health often until it's too late. So we have these global challenges like sedentary lifestyle, the convenience food, fast foods that we eat, comfort eating, inadequate exercise, what we call the couch potato syndrome. And also what I see as a threat to the future of society is that we increasingly are become what I call a spectator society. In other words, we don't try and change things ourselves. We rely on other people to change things for us. So although we've made massive improvements through technology and the standard of living and the facilities that we enjoy on a daily basis, actually we're reducing some of the physical and mental challenges that we necessary for, I think, for our lifelong development and health maintenance. On the screen now, you see a picture of my mother who died of dementia. And fortunately, she was passed away, or she became ill during a time when there were resources available to be able to support people like her. But today we face a decline in the percentage of working population. We're living longer. Older people are increasingly what I call thrown upon the scrap heap. And we're shifting away from family care in many countries, developed countries, to placing people in care homes. And all of these lead to increasing costs. And it's a challenge for us. So how do we solve the problem? Well, there are three basic solutions that I think that are appropriate in this situation. We can develop clinical solutions that prevent or manage the conditions. So we've been working very hard on different kinds of techniques to prevent diabetes and obesity. And this continues. And we've seen remarkable success with the pharmaceutical industry and the development in drugs to tackle new challenges like COVID, for example. It's unprecedented timescales that have been able to develop these new vaccines and solutions that, if not preventing the condition, at least manage them a little bit better. So that's one way we can approach it. But we could also, when it comes to obesity, try and influence the food industry and our citizens through public policy interventions like taxes on high sugar content in food. And then the third way in which we can approach it is to take more personal responsibility for our own health management and practices. So which is the best answer to all of these? So I've kind of encapsulated those three solutions in these images. On the left-hand side, it's attractive to think that we have the technology today to develop cures for these things. And so we're tempted to think, why should we change our lifestyle behaviors when there'll be a cure on? Maybe we've got an injection that will prevent diabetes. The second approach, kind of interventions that are in public policy, making sure that all the nutrition facts are placed on every item of food that we buy, placing restrictions on advertising for cigarettes and alcohol, for example, putting high levels of tax so they're less affordable. And then finally, we have the use of technology, mobile devices and wearable devices. So who's going to provide the best of these solutions? The answer is that we really need to understand that the best chance we have of increasing our lifespans and improving the overall quality of our health is to adjust our personal behaviors, and to do so at an early age. But how do we do it? Well, this is where I come in. And when I started my journey 9 years ago, it wasn't that I particularly felt that I needed to lose weight. You can see what I looked like in May 2013, quite obese. This is a picture taken from a screenshot when I was in a play. For a number of reasons that all came together at the same time, becoming aware of wearables, being involved in gamification myself, somebody telling me that I really needed to lose weight. All of these things came together, and I decided to see how I could use wearables and gamification to alter my physical and mental health situation. And within 3 months, I'd lost 21 kilos in weight, and I felt and looked considerably better. And since that time, it's 9 years ago, main focus has been on walking 5 miles every day. So over the last year, wherever I've been in the world, I've tried to walk at least 10,000 steps every day. And of course, it's been the wearables that have helped me to do that. So over the 9 years, I've used a wide variety of different wearable devices to try and understand and compare the different methodologies that they use to influence our behaviors. I started with a device called the Jawbone Up. I then tried a device called the Buddy Band 2 from Activate Our Lives, a UK company. Then I used the Activity Pop Watch. And since then, I've used a range of devices. And what I'm using today is a set of Versus Sense. So it's a Fitbit device, but I also, on the other wrist, have a new device from China that has a different kind of approach. And what I've observed over this time is that the technology has improved enormously, and we're evolving from consumer style devices to devices which are becoming more and more clinical grade. So the point is that used correctly, these technologies, wearable devices, artificial intelligence, the tools and the gamification techniques used in the mobile applications that go with wearables do genuinely work, but it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. I just wanted to touch on another aspect which I see increasingly important with mental health particularly, is the use of digital therapeutics, of virtual reality and other devices. So there are a number of different technologies which are coming together, which I think can help support us in making this transition from where we are now to a healthier lifestyle. So what's the roadmap likely to look like? Well, wearable consumer devices are increasingly providing more and more advanced health metrics. What I can get from my Fitbit device now is considerably more sophisticated and provides me with clinical grade data, or increasingly clinical grade data. But I think we also need to look at ways in which we can link the cost of healthcare to our lifestyle behaviors in order to provide incentives for people to look after themselves better and not just completely rely on public health services to solve the problem when they become ill. And part of this is to do with a revolution, creating a revolution in the healthcare ecosystem. Elle touched on this with the work that her company does. So that's all part, I believe, of this healthcare ecosystem where all the stakeholders in public health, which insurance companies, employers, local authorities, a range of people, all come together to achieve the same objective. Wearable devices can also extend into other applications, not just to do with healthcare, but also security and identity. And eventually we may find ourselves moving not just to wearable devices, but embedded devices, which in some cases where it's appropriate, not only monitor our state, but control it. And I'm thinking in this particular case, the use of devices that measure our insulin levels and link this to an insulin pump. But what we have to be very careful of, I think, is to retain our humanity in all of this. So to conclude my brief introduction, influencing lifestyle behaviors is absolutely critical to sustainable healthcare. Immersive technologies and smartphone applications are influential in helping these problems. And these technologies can address both chronic lifestyle related conditions and pandemics. And I'm speaking to you today as I've had COVID myself already. And the symptoms that I'm experiencing now seem related to what you might describe as long COVID. And it's symptoms that are very similar to fibromyalgia. So I have aches and pains on my body. It's difficult for me to get to sleep. And so I'm moving to a different phase now where I've gone from preventive healthcare to using the same technologies to make sure that I have the best quality of life. So digital therapeutics are an important alternative to traditional drug treatments. Thank you very much again for this opportunity, Elle, and I'll hand back to you to introduce the first of our speakers.
Thank you very much, David. We'll hear from you again later on our